In today's video, we're going to finish up with the frame of the bike and add gussets and supports and everything to make that a lot stiffer so that it'll hold me without flexing. I have some cutting to do here. This piece of bicycle here has a seat post which I plan to use, and this one has these, actually originally forks, but I'm going to go ahead and use these. I think I'm going to cut them right here and use these as supports for the rear fork. Well, now that I have these cut off, I think that they're going to be a little bit shorter than what I want. So I'm going to cut this off here, off this other bike. Gives me a little bit more length, so I think that might work a little bit better. So these pipes are long enough, but I'm going to go ahead and heat them right here to continue that bend instead of going back to horizontal, make it more vertical here on both of these. So I use this hole saw to put a notch in the tube, and it seems like it worked out okay. There's a slight difference between the two tubes, but it's probably due to the way that I had it fixtured in the vise. I did have it clamped down, but maybe not as well as it should have been. So I got the piece fitted. Just holding it with a spring clamp for now, just until I can get that tacked. I got my new fork pieces welded on, but it's been a real picnic. It's such tight quarters in here, I ended up blowing through 3 times. So filled it in the best I could. Hopefully it'll blend in okay. So since I've added the extra plate to the dropout here, I have to pull the forks apart just slightly to get the wheel in here. And additionally, the new fork portion has a tendency to ride in. So I'm going to go ahead and tack these together with the wheel in there so that it doesn't really pull these forks in more than it has to. So I think that by doing it this way, it should hold this position quite a bit better. So I've got my second set of support forks welded on here, and I really welded that to death, so it's not going to go anywhere. I can't imagine getting more weld on a joint than that, but I'm going to go ahead and get this painted up, put the bike back together, and see what this has done for the stiffness of the bike. So one of the things about this penny farthing bike is it's quite tall. At the top of the handlebars there, it's about as tall as I am. I'm not a young guy anymore. I'm not really interested in busting my butt. So where a normal penny farthing would have a seat, way up here, that's a lot farther than I think I'm ready to fall. In fact, took this thing and stood on a ladder next to it and decided, okay, exactly how far can I safely come down from this. Obviously if I start to fall, I put my leg down and so forth. So it wouldn't be an exact fall, but I came up with positions right around here. So that's probably maybe a foot lower than where this would be if it was a standard penny farthing. And I may even come down just a couple inches there. So this is the seat tube that I pulled off that junk bike, and I'm going to have to make a cut so I can join this. One of the questions in my mind was, would I drill a hole in the tube here and drop this in, or would I make the cut on this and weld it on? And I think that welding it on is going to work a lot better than cutting this tube. I'm afraid that if I cut a hole in that tube, that I may end up weakening it quite a bit. So I'm going to get this set up in the drill press and see if I can do an angle cut on this adequate to weld this bar, the seat post on here. Okie dokie, I'm fixtured up here. Hopefully this goes good. Well, my tube notched okay, but I guess I really hosed up that angle quite a bit. Can't have it off that far, I don't think. You do quite a bit more up and down. So let's give this another shot. after a reasonable amount of messing around with my angle grinder, I got this tube about where I want it. My gaps here are quite a bit larger than I would like, but the tube is getting kind of short, so I think it's time to quit messing around, and I'll just do the best I can with my welder there. So I need to figure out a better way with my hole saws or whatever I'm going to use to do my fabrication. That trick didn't work at all. Well, I got my seat on. One of the junk bikes had one of these bizarro kind of comfort seats, and I figured I'd give it a try since we didn't have a whole lot of room between the end of the seat post and the frame here. So maybe give it a shot, see how it goes. This welding was a total nightmare. I blew through several times and had a real difficult time with this one. But anyway, I guess that's the way it goes sometimes. So now that I have the seat on this bike, things are starting to become a little bit more concrete in the way that this geometry is likely to come together. One of the things that maybe I didn't take into proper consideration is I think that this part of the frame needs to be as close to the wheel as reasonably possible. Since I'm going to be sitting here, and somewhere along the lines I'm going to need some pedals to get this thing moving forward. You know, I really like to have my feet as close to the center of the wheel as possible. There's two reasons for that. First of all, we don't want the drivetrain too far away from the center of the hub. No more than we really need to, I think. I think that, you know, the structure that's going to have to be off the forks to support that, you know, we don't want that too long. The second consideration is as I turn, you know, that gap opens up pretty wide, so you know, it's no need making that distance even longer yet by being farther back than I need to be. So we're going to have a support coming from you know, that old bar there that's cut off down to the seat tube, but still there's quite a bit of gap here. So we could bring this forward somewhere around 8 or 9 inches. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this straight portion out of this pipe and reduce it by about 6 inches. There'll still be a couple inches of free space here, but I think it'll still work out fine, and it'll give me enough room to come in with my second support tube right around here. So it kind of stinks to have to start cutting this up again, but I think it's something that needs to happen, and I won't be happy with it as it sits right now. Well, I got my headset tacked back on, and I just wanted to double check that everything was going to fit, and I'm really glad I didn't, because it doesn't. So looks like I need to fix my angle here. Since I cut off all the horizontal piece, I did need a little bit of an angle. Not quite this much though. So I adjusted my angle here, and I think we'll be just fine with that. So I'll go ahead and finish up my weld and get this thing back together. So there we go. That frame is really nice and close to the wheel now, and my weld is complete up here, and I'll go ahead and maybe the next step is to run my support from that point down to the seat post. There's a possibility that before I do the lower support, I'll get the acetylene torch on here and move that a little bit closer, although I'm not so sure that's going to do me a whole lot of good actually. So you know, I don't want to get that back wheel too close in. You know, obviously I need stability front to back as well, and with the seat further back than on a standard penny farthing, you know, maybe that's about as close as I should get. So it's time to work on the back support. It's a support that's going to go from the back of the back forks up to say around the middle of the seat post. I'm running out of bicycles here. So I took a couple of handlebars that I had from some of these junk bikes. I'm going to weld them together to make a longer pipe. I mean, obviously it's just leaning against it there, but have to cut and shape it so that it fits properly. But that's what we're attempting right here. Fixtured up, getting ready to weld that on. So as I do more of this grinding, I'm getting better. My fit is better here, and I've spent less time grinding at it than I normally would have. So anyway, that's good to know, I guess. For me anyway. So the back support is done. I may add some crossbars from the top to the bottom. Pretty sure I will. I think it'll look better. So I don't know that it needs to be any stronger, but I think it would look nice. It's time to make the front secondary brace, the one that's going from the bottom of the headstock to the bottom of the seat tube. They have this piece of pipe, which I think may be EMT, but once again, if we consider that the weight's pushing down on the seat, it's going to want to stretch that pipe. So it doesn't need to be the most rigid pipe. Even at that, it may not even be a EMT, just kind of assuming that it is. But I think I'm going to try to put a little bit of a bend in it. So let's see if I can get that done without kinking it. I got my support completed on the upper half here. Didn't go into too much details, more of the same. Spent a lot of time making sure that this joint was as small as I could get it, as was this one, to improve my weld. So I decided for a couple vertical pieces between the headstock and the seat stock. One that I got tacked in here, and then one that I've got marked there. What I'm doing is using a spirit level and this protractor to get the angle of the tube here, and then trying to cut that tube at that angle with the drill press here. So not exactly going smooth. There seems to be something not quite right with my method. We've got a reasonable gap here, so it did take a couple tries. But so I have all my gussets formed, if that's what they would be called, or supports, and I think that I'm pretty happy with them. So I'll go ahead and get them welded in. I have all my gussets welded. Let's get this bike back together and see how she looks. There it is. Frame's complete. In the next video, we're going to finish the drivetrain. I'm not going to go ahead and paint the frame yet because I'm thinking that we may need to make some changes. Spent a lot of time grinding off paint, so I think that I'm going to go ahead and just leave that metal bare for a week or two until I'm ready to paint the whole thing. There's a lot of stability in this frame. Clearly, if you're going to be sitting up that high, you don't want to be on something that's about ready to fold in half. So I think that's pretty rock solid. Anyway, I'm hoping so. Thanks for watching my video. Leave any thoughts or suggestions in the comments below. Also, if you could hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Have a great day.